when you graduated NYU, New York City is in the middle of a heroin crisis, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Right.
Okay. Was this point in your career, was it significant in terms of you? Because we all know you for so much of your getting people off who were thought to be guilty. You've worked with a lot of the civil rights leaders over the years. Police, they made it as though this heroin crisis was only a black and brown problem. And I know you saw it differently.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When I graduated from NYU Medical School, which was 1959, heroin addiction was severe. And in 1960, I got my medical licensure and became an intern resident at Bellevue Hospital. After I got my license, I started working moonlighting for the medical examiner's office that was at in Bellevue Hospital where I worked. And I'd go out on house calls nights and weekends, do autopsies, learn to do autopsies. And the biggest cause of death then in young people was heroin addiction, as you say. And it did strike the black community. There were more black deaths than white deaths, or close to it at that time. It's interesting, Shawn, that the fentanyl deaths now going on are 10 times higher than we had in our crisis in the 1960s. When we had the heroin crisis in New York, we had maybe a few thousand deaths a year was in the country. We had maybe 900 or 1,000 in New York City. Now there's 100,000 deaths around the country. You know, just by comparison. But the heroin crisis was severe. It was interesting that you talk about black and brown people. Police used to come into the medical. We're always come in the medical examiner's office around the country to when they have cases they want to find the cause of death on. The police used to come down and joke about how they would stop people with heroin on. Mm-hmm. They had a condition they called dropsy. I mentioned in the book, I had to go through. Dropsy. I said to the police officer, because he said, well, I saw this fellow a couple of weeks ago, and we arrested him because he had dropsy, and then he got out and he shot up again and he died. So I said, what's dropsy? There is an old condition, dropsy, that referred to swelling of the legs in people who had kidney disease or heart disease, which we now have different names for. So I said, that's a dropsy. He said, what do you mean by that? He said, well, we stopped this guy and we didn't have much to do with him, so we found a package of heroin right by his feet. He had dropped the heroin packet at his feet, so that's why we arrested him. And I said, did he really have it? He said, no, we didn't have it. We have it. We dropped it for him, you know. And that
Are you serious?
Yeah. So I thought, now hear me out here, because I'm just a beginning medical examiner, and the book I tried to show how I evolved. My work now with wrongful deaths, where that you refer to, when people who die and either the person is charged incorrectly, or the police officer, in many of the cases that I describe, has no charges against any police officers, like with Tyree Nichols. Whatever they did, they caused the death, but nobody gets charged with it. In my youth, when I first started out, and I thought that isn't that very clever of the police? They admit and they feel that they had that this fellow had no heroin on him, but they arrested him because they found heroin that they planted at his feet, and they called it dropsy because he dropped it. Yeah, we tell the judge that he had it in his pocket, and we arrested him, and he tried to get rid of it and fell on the floor, and that's why on the ground. That's why we got him. I thought my initial thing isn't that very clever. Later on, as I dealt more with drug addicts, and I saw how the false arrest may be very, very popular way of arresting people, that the arrest itself does immense harm to the young man. From then on, he has an arrest record and is limited in what he can do and what jobs he can get.
Correct.
So initially, I was inducted into being a medical examiner as being part of the medical examiner's prosecution team. They had when I first became a medical examiner after finishing my residency at Bellevue. I was brought into a meeting with the chief medical examiner, with the head of the homicide division of the district attorney's office, and was told, hey, prosecution are a three-legged stool. It requires the police, the prosecutor, the district attorney, and the medical examiners working as a team. And this is the way most medical examiners start out. And it takes a while to realize that we can't be team players, that if the medical examiner is there not to support one side or another, to give whatever the scientific evidence is on how somebody dies. And if we disagree with the opinion and of the prosecutor, we have to say that, hey, he didn't die the way you said. He didn't die charging at a police officer who shot him. He died the way the witnesses said, shot in the back while he was running away. And we got those kind of cases that we can't say that somebody died the way that's supportive of the theory of the charges of the prosecutor. If I'm not saying this in clear enough form.